Hey, what's going on, ADPI Nation? This is your host, Kevin Brenner, and this is the Active Duty Passive Income Podcast. And today's guest is really, really cool. He is a former Air Force member, so he's in my good graces, naturally, being an Air Force veteran. And he did like a little dab on the screen. I don't know if you saw that, but TJ McLelland is with us. And what we're going to talk about today is how to embrace the transition out of the military and into a real estate business. Specifically, TJ chose to become a real estate agent, but not only just becoming a real estate agent and kind of being a solopreneur, he decided to use his leadership skills that he learned in the military to actually build a team of agents in the Utah area. And he's been wildly successful building that team out and kind of just like we always talk about, applying the skills that the military teaches us and finding a purpose on the outside. And we're going to talk about transition. So if you're on the brink of transition, whether you're retiring or separating or whatever, and you're looking for that thing, this might be your thing. It could be. And then we're going to talk about his background and his real estate investing experience, and we're going to touch on something really, really cool that a lot of you may or may not be aware of: ADPI Realty. So ADPI, Active Duty Passive Income, we have a nationwide network of military real estate agents. What does that mean? Well, technically, they're military investor-friendly real estate agents. We actually train them on how to not only work with the military, because they're all veterans themselves, but also how to teach and educate clients on, hey, is this going to be a good investment property or not? And the same thing that you get from folks like Brad Osterman, '06 Colonel, retired Special Forces Colonel, who is now the Director of Lending at ADPI Lending, where they walk you through exactly what the numbers look like on a deal, and it's not just pushing you through the deal to get the commission. It doesn't work like that. So we've built that out to support our members, and TJ is one of the faithful. So TJ, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, man? I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to just share my story a little bit, and I've never had such an intro, so I wanted to say thank you so much for that. that was so beautiful, man. That was awesome.
Well, the good news is it's recorded, and you can listen to it over and over again before you go to sleep at
Yay.
night.
Right?
Yay.
Just my new mantra. My wife's going to be happy about that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, TJ, let's start, man. Let's start with your military background and tell me a little bit about that, how long you served, where you served, and then kind of what drew you to the real estate realm, and specifically the real estate sales realm.
Yeah, for sure. So my story it's really kind of funny, and when I kind of get through this, you'll see why it's just kind of a weird picking here, a little bit here, then just how naturally people go through life. But I just hit these milestones and was like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this a little bit. So my active duty career, I was in North Carolina at Seymour Johnson. I was an F-15 crew chief. And I didn't know that I loved that job all at the same time as hating that job. I know a lot of like maintainers, they'll tell you like it's a love-hate relationship. But I met a guy that was my supervisor, and I was actually in phase at the time. And so he pulled me in the office one day, and he was like, hey, I think you should get a real estate license. And I was like, well, okay. I mean, I've never been asked that. I've never been approached about that. And real estate seemed real scary at the time. And so I kind of thought about it for a minute, but I knew that my mom, she's been a realtor here in Utah for about 30 years now. And so she had been selling since like 92. And so I was like, well, my mom is a realtor, and so maybe I'll try it out. So with that supervisor, I started working with him a little bit, got licensed, kept deploying, right? We went to Afghanistan 2 times then. I went to Africa once. I did all these crazy things with the F-15 unit, which really hindered my real estate career. Because as you guys know, to build real estate and clients and a sphere of influence, you kind of have to be there. And so every 6 months or so, I was like, well, I'm gone. So I'd get back and all my deals or all my people would have already bought. And so I just didn't have a really good grasp on it at the time. So I kept my license, and I just kept all the CE credits and never sold anything for the first 5 years. So when I say it took me a while to
Wow.
get going in real estate, it took me a while to figure it out. And so 5 years straight, no sales. Kept my license, CE credits. I was actually doing all the classes to be a provisional broker in North Carolina, is what they call it.
Hmm.
And so I had that license as well. Well, there came a time when I was like, man, I'm just done turning wrenches on the flight line. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll do something different. And at that time I was crash recovery and I'd done a bunch of different things. So I was like, maybe I'll step into an instructor role. So when I stepped into being an instructor, as a lot of people do, FTD instructors and instructors in general have pretty cushy hours. It's just one of the
Oh, because
perks.
you're like at the schoolhouse and it's like, hey,
Yep.
you're gonna be training them from like 9 to 4, and then you're like pretty chill.
Yep. Oh yeah,
Pretty
exactly.
cushy hours. And let me say, pretty cushy hours compared to the maintainer schedule, where it's like, oh yeah, you're on for 12 hours, but it's really like a 15-hour shift because you got to get there and do this. Yeah.
Yep, 100%. Because like most of those times on 12s, you don't finish your forms and stuff and walk out of there until, like you said, 15 hours. And so when I left that world, left the maintenance, like hardcore flight line, just turning wrenches all the time, to the instructor world, then I was like, oh, I got some free time here. And the instructor world's not so negative about life a lot of times. And so when you kind of couple that positivity with new hours, I started to actually sell more real estate than the full-time agents in the office that I was a part of,
Wow.
which was insane. I was like, oh, this is actually not as hard as I figured it was. And it all started to click. And I don't know if that was just a different mentality, a mind shift, or
Yeah. Let
the
me dig into that,
hours.
because
Yeah.
that's crazy to me, that, and it's probably crazy to a lot of listeners right here that are
Hmm.
saying like, okay, wait, so TJ's still an instructor, but he's selling more houses as a part-time agent, because
Right.
part-time, right, than the full-time agent. So what is it? What's your secret sauce, man? What were you doing differently than the full-time agents, in your opinion, obviously?
So the best track that I found was that the instructor world, and in general the military as a whole, that we're moving around a lot, and so there's really this cyclical buying and selling nature.
Mhm.
So the instructor position put me in front of people that were coming in to the units because I was training every maintainer that walked through the door. So I had this insane pipeline. So that was crucial, thing number one. Number two was I started to actually be able to understand what value proposition I'm telling people that are walking through my door that may or may not be in this unit for 2, 3 years, maybe 1 year, and then they go to Korea. And so being able to translate, hey, you need to get a place and use your BAH to put it in your own pocket instead of
Mm.
just, living on base or whatever. And that really started to translate into people building a little bit of wealth. And then, like, after 6 months, and I had a few people that bought, and then shortly after that, they would turn it into a rental unit sometimes when they would go to Korea and start cash flowing on it.
Mhm.
When that started to get out, the word started to get out that I could help people do that. People just started to come to me and they were like, I want you to do what you did for Sergeant so and so. And I'm like, okay, we can totally do that. And so it became really strong word of mouth. And I started really figuring out that the value that I was bringing was education. Like money will always come, but the education piece, that was so crucial. But a strong pipeline really started to flourish out of there.
Yeah, and it's so funny because it sounds exactly like the ADPI story, right?
Hmm.
Way back in the day, Mark Yan and Mike Foster at the Naval Academy, they had this idea, and to go and start just educating folks, and then it's just word of mouth, and it's crazy. We still take freedom calls, right, where anyone can call in and
Hmm.
they get booked on my calendar, Eric's calendar, or someone's calendar,
Yeah.
at the top, and they you know, I always ask them every call, like, "Hey, how'd you hear about us?" And now it's completely for ADPI. It's completely organic. It's like, "Oh, my commander said I have to look you guys up. My first
Right.
sergeant said I have to look you guys up," and all of this stuff. And it's super super cool to get to that point of growth where people are coming to you, but they're
Hmm.
understanding the reason why people are coming to you, is because, like you said, TJ, you were providing extreme value through education. And if people
Right.
are having those light bulb moments constantly, like left, right, and center, then they're going to want to come to you. And that principle can be applied to any business. If you are providing value outside the norms of where people can just go and get something, get information, but you're providing it in a personable and digestible and consumable format, then you're going to start building that following. And it's super cool that you were able to do that while still working.
Right. Yeah. And that's really what drove me to find ADPI is, I stumbled upon it the first time, cause this is a crazy story. I'm just going to throw this out here really quick before I derail everything. Jill knows my wife from high school. And so when Jill was here in Utah, she was like, hey, you should get into this ADPI thing after she wanted to do real estate here, but then she found ADPI. And you guys went and off and she was running. She one day, though, she was like, did your wife go to West High School? And I was like, yeah. She's like, I totally know your wife. I went to high school with her. So now me and Jill joke around. Last time that she was here in Utah, we kind of hung out and went to it was the 20th year anniversary for their high school reunion. And so I went with my wife. We hung out with Jill. It was so fun. But anyway, that's what kind of brought me to ADPI, though, was that the extreme value proposition that you guys bring in education is by far so much higher than a lot of other institutions out there that teach real estate. And then honestly, like where ADPI stands in helping people grow just pure wealth in general with a lot of different ideas and the community behind that. I mean, the community as a whole understands where we're all at, our positions. We have the lingo. We speak the same language. We have deployed to a lot of the same places. We are almost like a family. And so it's like a 75,000 person family now, which is incredible for you guys. And I've told a lot of people about it. And honestly, that's the main driver, is that the value is so much bigger than what any one person could do. And so ADPI is insane. It's so good.
Yeah. I love that, man. And it's people like you that help spread the word and help grow and ultimately help make a bigger impact on the military community. Because if you think about and this goes for listeners too. I mean, the faithful listeners of this podcast, if you guys aren't telling people not just about ADPI, but tell people what you've learned by listening to this show, you are taking more steps than most people ever will in real estate investing, education, wealth education. And I was actually watching that Netflix documentary, the thing about GameStop. It's called like Eat the Rich or something, and the whole like GameStop saga situation. And way in the end of the documentary, there was a guy on there. It said that Wall Street is while they claim to be a wealth builder for people, most of Wall Street, if you consider the institutional folks versus the retail investors, the people like you, me, and most of America, it's not a wealth building tool. It's a wealth extraction tool. And they extract your wealth and then they pile it towards the top. That's just how the game works. So you got to understand that, when you're on Wall Street, you're playing the game. But people listening to this show and other shows and educational sources out there, books, other podcasts, whatever, they are consuming a different perspective where they can maintain control. Because when you go to Wall Street, you don't have control. Right. You have your time maybe, but you don't have control. So by listening to this and learning from ADPI or from other sources, like I said, you're taking it out there. So you're getting educated, and it's your duty to go and educate others in your shop, if you're in the military still, or just your friends and family, because there's just so much out there to be learned. But now that we have successfully derailed the entire conversation, TJ, let's bring it on back. Let's bring it on back to your story. So you're selling real estate. You're selling real estate. And at what point did you decide that, like, hey, this thing has legs and I might be able to successfully transition?
Yeah, for sure. Let's cruise through that. So when I started really selling and getting a lot of attention in the office, it was actually my mom who started noticing that I was selling a lot. And she was like, wow, you're really doing an amazing job there in real estate in that area. And she was like, well, why don't you just transition and come home and we'll join forces, and like sell real estate together. And I was like, man, that sounds really cool. But at the time I was like, well, I'm active duty. I'm not getting out of the military anytime soon. But there came a point when it was like 7 or 8 years ago now, where the Air Force did all of those cuts where people were like on the chopping block. We had boards. People were transitioning to different career fields and all sorts of stuff. Well, I was never actually on any of the boards, but I took that opportunity and transitioned to the National Guard. And so I'm actually still in just the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, and transferred to the Utah Air National Guard, and which is where I really built my entire business. And so for all the listeners out there right now, if you're in the National Guard or any type of military institution or installation, you have such a beautiful opportunity to create wealth on the outside in real estate, and you can do it through sales, investing, all sorts of stuff. So I'll kind of outline how I did that transition through the Guard. So as soon as I got to the Guard unit, though, I got here to Utah, and Utah said, well, none of your sales counted in North Carolina because it's backwoodsy. And I said, well, you're not wrong.
Backwoodsy.
yeah. I was like, you're not wrong.
Society in Utah.
Yes, exactly. So no reciprocity. So I was like, well, fine, I'll start over. Did the course, started over, started selling, and had all of the sales, and was just waiting on the 3-year time requirement to be a broker in the first like 8 months. And so we just started crushing it here. And so the main goal was to come here to Utah, create what I had created in North Carolina, but create it with my mom. And she's also my business partner now. So when we started Fitness Realty, it was 2018, and now we were 5 years open for Fitness Realty. So that transition looks like this. Came to the Utah National Guard, started selling again, created my freaking awesome pipeline from the Utah Air National Guard, because I knew what I was offering people in North Carolina, I could easily do that here in Utah with a high appreciation market, and just show people like, let's build equity, And so just in 2021 alone, we helped people make $8 million in equity and put that into their pockets and in their family. And it was just amazing to watch that. So fast forward a little bit, we opened Fitness Realty, me and my mom. We were just me and her. And now 5 years later, we have 19 agents. Wow. We sell real estate all over Utah. We help people buy and sell. We help people invest. I teach a rental property class now. I've got probably 8 or 9 more people to join our staff as soon as they get licensed. And so I really want to make sure that the emphasis is put on the military experience. Gives you a lot of tools, training, how to work hard, grinding. It sucks when it sucks, and you can still do it. And real estate is no different. Like real estate sales is hard. It's super saturated. Nobody's going to do it for you. You have to come and bring everything to the table. And the grind is difficult, but it's rewarding. Like the military, the end mission, that is very rewarding. In real estate, helping somebody achieve their goals, either their first time house or first time home buyer, or their first investment property, watching that grow, that's the end mission for me. And that's what I love to teach. And so it's exciting.
Yeah, I love that. Now you got to tell me about Fitness Realty, because your mom's not on the screen, but I'm expecting your mom to be like a power lifter, like you.
Well, she doesn't look like that at all. She's very, very petite, but she rides horses. But I'll give you how Fitness Realty was born. Obviously, as you know, when we deploy, all we get to do is work out, eat, sleep, and that's it.
Correct.
And most of the time, workout is twice. Like we're doing 2 a days or whatever. We're probably eating too much protein for our own good and whatever. It's all good, right? But my first rotation to Bagram, I was like, man, I love working out. This thing is pretty sweet. And then when I started selling more real estate, I was like, man, real estate is sweet. Like, how do I do both of these passions at the same time? And so when I got here to Utah with my mom, I had already kind of thought up how to combine these two passions. And so we decided that we were going to incentivize healthy living lifestyles, and we didn't know what that looked like. And so everything kind of got pushed and figure it out as we went, but the name kind of stuck. And so now we incentivize healthy living lifestyles with our agents. So every agent that's on our staff has to commit to drinking water, walking more, praying more,
Nice.
running a Spartan race, or anything that makes them a better person, whatever they decide, right? It's all individual. When they choose that, they get a bonus 5% commission at every one of my progression tier commission splits. And so we're really paying people to be healthier, right? 5% in a commission split's probably $1,200, $2,000. It could be, it could be a wide array of numbers. But for our buyers and sellers, this is the fun part, because we incentivize that same style, that same healthy living lifestyle for our buyers and sellers. So let's take a buyer, for instance, first-time home buyer. They don't know anything about home sales. They need to get educated. So we come in and educate. But along the way, we incentivize that healthy living lifestyle, whether it's quit smoking, drink water, maybe just park their car a little further away from the store so they walk a little more, right? Being conscious about some step that day to become the best version of themselves. Well, we put a 0.5% commission back in their pocket when they close. And so that can be $1,500, $2,000. I've had a $3,500 check one time given right to my client for walking a little bit more each and every day during the transaction.
That is so cool. So are you like, so when you bring on a client, I first of all, I love this. Obviously I love the healthy living, and I'm happy to report I'm down 5.8 pounds. I'm close to my goal.
Yeah.
So that's good. But so like when you bring on a client, you say, hey, here's the deal. You create this metric. How do you hold them accountable?
Yep. So there's two things. One, it's all up to them. They get to choose if they want to do it. A lot of people do. Some people don't. Some people are just like, I don't care. The people that do choose, they get to pick whatever it is for themselves. And then it's an honor system. I know there's not a lot of like built-in honor systems in real estate. Sometimes, there's some bad apples out there that do some shady stuff. We're trying to bring a lot of that honor back, because I feel like in the military, we had that a lot. There was a lot of honor to help your fellow person around, and to really push the mission. And we kind of lost that in society a little bit. And so we try to bring a little bit of honor back. So honestly, I just asked them at the end of the transaction, like, how did it go? What was it like? What was your experience? And sometimes they say, it was hard and I didn't do well and my struggle was there. And I'm like, well, great, you're human, just like all of us, So then I incentivize, try harder next time, like there's always tomorrow. Maybe not always, but sometimes we get afforded that opportunity for tomorrow and we get to try harder. But there are people that take it and run with it and crush it. And so the people that crush it transition their body at the same time of getting a brand new house. And so every time they walk through that front door, they're like, oh yeah, I was working on whatever it was. And then it brings up that thought every time that they're home, which is just exciting.
I love that. When they get the home, do you get them like a treadmill put in their house? No, I'm kidding.
We've thought about that in the past. Sometimes we've thought about doing like gym memberships and stuff, but I found that some of my people love Spartan races. And so I try to run a team every year for a Spartan race.
There you go. So no, this is really cool. And this goes to show, like, this is how you create a niche in any business, right? You're what's separating you, TJ, and your business from all the other agents. Like you said, being a real estate agent is extremely saturated. There was that report last year and a half ago, said that there's more real estate agents working than there are homes available on the market.
Yes.
Like that's a problem, right? So how do you separate yourself? It's about finding a niche and providing a unique value in we talk about this in our military short-term rental academy. It's, you got to determine your unique value, identify your ideal client, determine your unique value. Like, what value you offering them. Obviously, you're going to help them buy a home. Obviously, you're going to do everything that real estate agents do by being their advocate and their agent and negotiating and doing all that stuff, like helping them through the home buying process. But any agent's going to do that. What else are you going to do? you're number one, you're going to promote healthy living and lifestyle by creating this deal with them, which is great. But you're putting your money where your mouth is, and you're already willing to give up a 0.5% of your commission to them. So
Mm-hmm.
whether they complete what they say they're going to do or not, you give them the option to participate in the program, right? But
Mm-hmm.
like from your perspective, you're well prepared to give up that 0.5% commission no matter what. And that is separating you from the rest, because the rest of the agents out there have a scarcity mindset, and yours is an abundancy mindset tied not towards the value of the money, but towards the impact that you can make on your clients. And ultimately, from a business perspective, that's gold. Because
Right.
what that's going to do is it's going to separate you from the pack. And you know what? Each one of those clients, after they close, they're going to be like, "Oh my God, dude, I mean, not only did I buy this house, I lost 15 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
TJ has been absolutely awesome. You guys need to go and look this guy up." And that's it. That's how you grow organic business, by creating that unique value and doing something different. And man, I really love that. Hats off to you. And 19
Yeah.
agents, man, that's incredible. So your mom,
Thank you.
is she still selling houses and everything?
Yep. Still
Wow.
selling, still cranking. Yep. I don't think she'll ever quit because she just loves helping people.
Yeah.
Plus, she just loves homes and she loves relationship building. And then, obviously, right now, she sees this new young generation looking to get their first home and stuff like that. And so, when they're first time home buyer, she's like, "Oh, let me just help you," and she just helps them like learn and grow. And she takes such good care of her clients. It's really insane. I
That's
have a funny
incredible.
story really quick for you.
Oh yeah.
So on the topic of like building a niche, obviously there's a lot of real estate agents in the Utah market in general. Just along the Wasatch Front, which is just the 4 main counties, there's 20,000 licensed realtors,
Woof.
which is insane. There's licensed realtors everywhere. I always say this when I'm recruiting, because I'm typically recruiting like at a Starbucks or a Beans and Brews and just meeting people there that want to talk to me about real estate and becoming a realtor. And I always tell them, I'm like, most likely there's 3 or 4 realtors in here right now. So if we had like a realtor call where we're like, "Realtors Unite," or something,
like Ron
then
Burgundy.
yeah, then exactly, they'd all pop
we're right
out.
here.
And,
We're right here, Ron.
Yeah. And I've thought about, being in a room like that and just saying, "Hey, I'm looking to sell a house," and just see who like jumps in there and like dives on me, because I'm sure there's 3 or 4 realtors right there. But anyway, the fun thing is whenever I'm at like a chamber after hours meeting, or I go to a business networking group, there's like 8 realtors in the room.
Sure.
From every brand that's across the road. And nobody wants to talk to them because it's boring, it's old. The brand is there for sure, and I'm not discounting big brands, but they don't have anything new to offer. And so everybody comes and talks to us, which is one of my recruiting plugs. It's like, it's super easy for us to stand out everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you're talking, if you got Keller Williams and EXP and all these other people in the room,
Mm-hmm.
people know those. They're nationwide big box realtors.
Yep.
But Fitness Realty, an independent realty brokerage, and it's got fitness on it, and you're like, that it's just interesting. It's just
Right.
it's just generally interesting. So there's a lot that that can go into a name and a brand and everything, but the brand is only as valuable as the impact that you're making on your clients. If, for example, TJ, and this is not you're wearing a Fitness Realty shirt, but you're like grossly overweight and not fit, then
Yep.
then people are going to be like, this guy's, full of shit.
Yep.
So like,
Yep.
might not be someone I want to talk to, but
Yeah.
that you are your brand, and your brand is your company. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can embody that, even from a real estate investment side of the house, or whatever business you're looking to start, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's really, really, it's critical, honestly. Otherwise
Mm-hmm.
people can see through that. I mean, we're all human, right? We're not
Oh yeah.
idiots. We can see through that, and we know when people aren't being truthful to their
Right.
brand. So all right, man. So dude, this is crazy. So let's talk a little bit about you. You mentioned how you met Jill Campbell and how
Yep.
she knows your wife just randomly, which is super awesome. Went to high
Right.
school together.
Yep.
But I want to get your take on ADPI Realty and how that's been working out for you.
Yeah, this is going to be a super awesome topic for me. The ADPI Realty side, the specific area that I know and love is the ICC. So for everybody out there, we have all these acronyms, of course, but the ICC is the Inner Core Coalition, and it's just a bunch of realtors that are part of the main side of ADPI Realty that teach, educate, coach, and then we went through an entire vetting process of what does your pipeline look like? Have you actually closed deals? Are you actually a volume producer? Because honestly, like people can do one or two transactions, but they still have no clue what they're doing. And so the vetting process of ADPI to get into the ICC, I think was very crucial. And so you have a lot of different realtors from every market across the nation right now. I shouldn't say every market. There are a few markets that aren't represented, of course, but the ICC brings those national level realtors together. And once a week, we mastermind about what our markets look like, what's working, what's not working, who's growing a team, who's becoming a broker, what problems we're running into, right? Because, and we do this a lot of times in the military, we call a different base and we're like, hey, we just ran into this problem. What did you guys do? And have you ever seen this before? So we go to the mastermind in the ICC group and we're like, hey, this client just did XYZ. Have you ever ran into that before? And then somebody's like, oh yeah, that happens in my market all the time, and we start talking about it. So the value that I've seen for ICC is bringing together people that are high level producers, that understand markets, that understand the real estate game, and putting them all into a room so that we can feed off of each other and build and grow our education piece so that we can learn how to bring more value to our clients and our spheres. And it's been super powerful. Like I've been in it since day one, maybe not day one, but it was like right at the beginning with Jill. And I think it's 4 years now. We're like going back and I was like, no, it's only been 2 years. And Jill was like, no, it's been like 4 years. And I was like, crap, time flies.
Dude, I mean, and it's so powerful from the service that we can go and provide our community, right? Because again, I got to put my ADPI hat on now, right? And say like,
right.
What we're providing our community is the truth, because you can go and talk to any realtor. And there's so much misinformation out about the VA loan and just the military in general. And, like I hear realtors going and saying like, oh, don't even bother putting in your VA home loan offer because it's not going to get accepted. And like just silly things like that. And they just discourage people. Oh, you should just rent because you're only going to be here a year. Like just silly things. Yeah, I know. And it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. And it happens all the time, mainly because realtors, they don't want to deal with the VA. It's more work for them. So they're just like, whatever. But for our community, that VA home loan product is a gateway for first-time home buyers. And oh, by the way, you can use to buy up to a 4-unit property, and you could set yourself up to self-brag moment to become a millionaire in 4 years, like I was able to do. But like that's how you can start an investing career. Right. If you choose and you do it the right way and obviously follow the rules, live in one of the units, the whole thing. My point is having a collective or a coalition, the Inner Core Coalition of nationwide realtors who are meeting, discussing, they're all military. They've all been vetted by active duty passive income leadership is incredible. And if you happen to be in one of these markets where they are, and we're continuing to grow the program, by the way, then you have access to, like, you just cut the line and you don't have to worry about any of the BS, and you can go right to finding deals, talking to someone who knows you, speaks your language, all of those things. And it's the same thing with ADPI lending. Like I mentioned earlier, it's just like the same idea where instead of a lender just pushing you through a deal to get a commission, no, our lenders at ADPI lending powered by Amnet, it's like they're literally teaching you, hey, this is how you underwrite the deal. This is good or this is bad. And it's more about the impact that they're making to you on that educational process. And TJ, man, I'm just glad that you've been in so long, and I'm sure you've inspired so many people, clients or not clients, because it's just you're changing lives.
Right. Thank you. I have a weird question for you, and this might really derail.
Oh, I'm up for it, man.
So, not lately, sorry. One of the latest videos that Markion just did was a pretty much bash of the TSP, which I totally am on the side of Markion.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if late game, you guys ever see yourselves as ADPI bringing up the level of education in the military so high that the retirement benefits of TSP and government pension through the military ever is so small that the military says, ADPI, you need to cease and desist.
Well, I mean, I don't, I'll tell you our dream. The dream, the dream, we're going through EOS right now, which is Entrepreneur Operating System. If you've read Traction, you know all about that. But they ask you to create a dream and a vision and all of this stuff. And our dream is to be the USAA of, not a bank, of real estate investing education, of the investing side. That's what we want to do. We want to be that big and create that much of an impact. I don't think, we're going to have any influence to shape, government retirement programs because it's so ingrained and so federally regulated and all of that stuff. But what we really want to do is we don't want to reshape the TSP. We want people, if they want to contribute to their TSP, man, that's awesome. Like Markion says in the video, hey, get your matching. I mean, that's free money.
Right.
But we want to give people an alternative wealth building tool. And remember what I said at the top of the show, there's, Wall Street, which includes, where your TSP money is going. That's a wealth extraction tool. You have no control.
100%.
But in real estate, you have control, at least more control. Like the market can tank like it did in 2008. Hey, listen, man, you got no control over that. But guess who was in charge of that? Well, it was a deregulated space in the lending industry, and it was ridiculous, and it caused them, that's no good, right?
Right.
If you think about it, it was Wall Street's fault, right? With the mortgage-backed security crisis. But, the point being is that, with real estate, you have more control over the decisions, the financial decisions that you make. And, I think that ADPI will one day complement the TSP. I mean, we're working very, very hard with Veterans Affairs, the entire Veterans Affairs. We've had meetings with the Secretary of the VA and figuring out, hey, there's 16.68 million veterans in the United States.
Wow.
Why isn't ADPI, why isn't real estate investing education being brought up to them? Why isn't ADPI or just general real estate investing education part of TAP? And the truth of the matter is because it's just not, it's not widely accepted. Like we're kind of the weirdos.
Right. Yeah.
But there's room to change that thinking and that thought process. And like anything, it starts with a grassroots movement, that word of mouth. So when you're listening to this right now, and if you're pumped up, go and tell someone in your shop. And the best thing you can do is say like, hey, listen to this podcast. Hey, you got another, you have a leadership, we used to do when I was active duty, we would do, God, I'm totally blanking on the names, but you get people in a room and you have like a leadership lesson kind of a thing where you would teach them something new. Pop on an episode of the podcast and just listen to your favorite episode and have your troops, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines. What do the Space Force call themselves? Sentinels? Did I make that up? Whatever the hell they're called. Bring them in and say like, hey, listen, just check out this podcast and talk about it. It's a 30, 45 minute podcast. And that's a educational, that's a leadership lesson for your team. But you can really create light bulb moments for people and shape how they think and feel and understand their personal finances. And I think that's such a blind spot, TJ. You know it.
Right.
We know it. I know our producer RJ knows it, who's listening to this podcast right now. It is such a blind spot in the military. They don't teach it. And, conspiracy theory, Kevin, with the tinfoil on his head, thinks they don't teach it because people would leave.
Right.
Well, and it's not that far fetched. I mean, like
Right.
they need people turning wrenches for 15 hours on the flight line, getting
Right.
paid, $28 to $44,000 a year. Like they need that.
Right.
If everyone's going and saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, I can go and get real estate," it's a little bit different. So,
Right.
anyway,
Well, when you guys change wealth trajectories, that's the biggest piece. And I see that everywhere. Like
yeah,
ADPI is changing people's wealth trajectories huge.
yeah,
It's so amazing. I'm going to be stoked to
absolutely.
see what it looks like in 5 years.
Well, you're going to be along the ride. You'll probably be running the ICC by then. I don't know.
I don't know about that. I have a side question really quick.
Yeah.
Side question. Is there any way you can drop some ADPI con news right here?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could.
Because
I
I'm
could do a little
stoked.
bit. So,
I didn't get to go last year, but this year I'm going. I'm committed.
oh,
I want to go. This year should
heck
be
yeah.
awesome.
So let's see. So ADPI con news. What can I drop? Let's see. Let's not get myself in trouble here. Well, it's great.
Yeah.
So ADP Icon, it's going down in San Antonio. It's going to be at the
Yes.
Westin on the Riverwalk.
Sick.
And we are creating we're extending it a day. So for those of you who attended last year, it was
Whoa.
in New Orleans and it was a 2-day thing. This is going to be a 3-day thing, which is super awesome because that means
Wow.
it was actually crazy. Like running ADP Icon last year, we're like, oh my God, there's not enough time in between the things. And we had to like cut content short and everything. And it was like, we learned so much from that first in-person event, but it was great because hundreds of people showed up and it was just super awesome. But this one's going to be bigger. It's going to be, like I said, in San Antonio, right on the Riverwalk. It's going to be at a nicer hotel. We're just super stoked. I mean, I think information is going to start flowing to the community as far as like ticket sales and all that stuff. I would suspect. I mean, this podcast is going to come out in like a month ish. So maybe by the time this podcast comes out, you'll start seeing information about early bird tickets and all of that stuff. But we're lining up speakers right now. We are trying to get some super, super influential and super smart keynotes up there. And can't really share much information yet because then I'd really get in trouble. But it's
right.
It's going to be the end of October. It's that last week, right before Halloween, just like we did it before.
Cool.
And it's going to be awesome, man. I'm glad you're coming.
I'm stoked. I'm going to be bringing me, my mom, and one of my top producers who's looking to become a broker. So it's going to be unreal.
That is so awesome. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
All right, man. We're running short on time. I got to take you to the bonus round.
Okay.
And let's kick it. It's the same 4 questions we ask each and every guest. Question number 1: what book or software has really been crushing it for you lately?
All right. So for everybody out there, if you are all about social media and you just get so fed up with like trying to figure it out, posting everywhere, you just don't want to manage any of that. I have a media company that we hired and they brought us a bunch of software, but the media company is called Taylor Green Media. Amazing group of guys. We've been with them for about 2 years now. They help us with our podcast. They help us with our editing. They do our short posts. They do our long posts. They do everything on social media that we could ask for. Plus, they give us a sweet back-end CRM that is super, super powerful. So that's kind of the software-ish question, I guess. We got to a point in our company where I just was not managing all that stuff very well, and because I love to teach, and so teaching takes more of my free time. So we handed it off to a media company, Taylor Green Media Group. Thanks, man.
That's awesome. I love that shout out. Question number 2: who's your biggest hero and why?
Oh man. Let's see. So I'll probably have to go with my mom. I know that sounds cliche, but honestly, I couldn't do this business without her. And she's been a guru and a backbone for me. She actually still closes our transactions a lot of times when I'm running the company or teaching a class, or I'm still on base sometimes for AT days. And so while I'm still doing all of that, she really is the person that continues to run and close and day in, day out delivers. And so she's probably my biggest hero. I've seen her have charity for people, have kindness in her heart for people. She's just such a good example. It's awesome. And then I've had a lot of people tell me in the past, they're like, there's no way I could run a company with my mom or, do that much stuff with my mom. And I'm like, well, I think you should fix that relationship. You only get one mom, but
Fact.
I'm glad that I get to have that. And then kind of a piece on top of that, I have so many videos and fun content with my mom that it will be around forever. And so I get
Oh,
to
I love
share
that.
her legacy and her legend status. It's so awesome.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, I think about that all the time. We're in such a weird information age. Like when TJ, you
Mm-hmm.
and I are like 80 years old or something, we're gonna be like looking at like old TikToks and shit. Like,
Right?
I don't even
Yep.
know.
Remember when we were crazy?
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's out there and it's cool. It's kind of scary,
Yep.
but it's also like, wow, like this is really really interesting, and you'll be able to
Mm-hmm.
reminisce, and that's what life's all about, right? Is memories. You
Right.
want to, I'm reading this book right now called Die with Zero, and the premise of the book
Nice.
is you can make millions and millions and billions of dollars, but if you don't convert those dollars into life experiences that then convert to memories, your life is
Mm-hmm.
pointless. And I think
Oh,
so
wow.
many people get it's heavy, man, but so many people get
Yeah.
caught up with chasing the dollar, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm working 60 hours a week or whatever, chasing the dollar, they get the dollar, and then they can't turn off that I got to work, work, and
Mm-hmm.
then they end up unhappy, or like, oh man, I really wanted to go hang gliding when I was
Mm-hmm.
30 years old, but now I'm 70 and I finally
Right.
retired, and I'm not going hang gliding. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and they miss out on that. So it's a
Yeah.
pretty good book. Um, Question number 3: what do you like to do for fun?
My favorite thing to do for fun, this is kind of going to put me into a weird category, is to play World of Warcraft with my wife.
Dude, I love it. I think you were the first person. I've been doing this for 289 episodes, and you're like the first person or 291 episodes. You're the first person that's
Yep.
been like, yeah, I'm a WoW bro.
Yep. Yep.
Let's
I
go.
still play it, still hang out. I don't know if that's like my favorite thing, but that just really jumped to my mind. But I
That's
love to
awesome,
hang out
man.
with my family. So one of them is to play WoW with my wife. And then lately I've been watching Survivor with my daughter, which has been awesome.
Oh my God, that show's still on. That's wild.
Yep.
All right, man. So TJ, you've shared so much wisdom with our community so far, and the listeners of this podcast. I'm going to ask you to summarize 3 nuggets of wisdom that you can share. Maybe they're looking to buy their first rental property or first home, but maybe they're kind of looking to start a business and transition and build something like you built, and what that looks like. Could you share 3 nuggets?
Yep. First nugget. If your sphere of influence is not an abundance mindset, you have to change that sphere. Get new friends, go to new places, go to networking events, talk to new people. You have to get around people that are idea born or idea mindset, where you can actually talk about ideas and go on a journey with that. And if you don't change your sphere, you're always going to do the same stuff that everyone else around you is doing. And if they aren't talking about ideas to move forward, then just go to somewhere else. And I know sometimes that feels hurtful, where it's like, well, I'm going to be dumping my friends. You don't have to necessarily dump them. Just go somewhere once a week, maybe go to a networking group, change your sphere. That sphere, let's say you want to buy your first rental or start a business or be a realtor. Change your sphere and walk to the people that are doing that, because they'll all want to teach. If they're worth their weight in salt, they'll want to teach. I try to teach every piece of education advice I know to the next person. Everyone on my team, I try to give them all the things that I know. And as I learn, I try to spit it out and regurgitate it and teach. And so, first lesson, change your sphere, find people that are abundance mindset, and go down that road. Number 2, on the real estate journey, start early, right? And there's this quote out there: when was the best time to buy a house? 20 years ago. when is the second best time right now. Even though the market looks like it might do a little downturn, maybe keep going down, it might flatline, the Fed might not do a rate hike and the interest rates might come down and everything might boom again. Who knows? Buy your first house, your first rental, your second rental, your first short-term rental, whatever, right? The key is to start early. And I'll give you a really quick story, 30-second story. I got invited to be on a panel of realtors to talk to new agents or new people in school to become a realtor. And on that panel, the overarching theme was that we wished we would have bought more real estate sooner. Mm-hmm. So that's key number 2. Number 3, this one's one of my favorites. If you don't have your goals written down and posted right where you're going to see it all the time, then you're screwing up. And I don't like to be very blunt about that, or I don't mean to be very blunt. Sort of I do. And I try not to make it sound hurtful, but honestly, if you're not writing down your goals and creating that like mind to pen tactile feel, or typing it out and printing it and then posting it and seeing it, then you're just not thinking about them all the time. And I'll give you a quick story about that. 3 years ago or 4 years ago now, I started writing my goals down, and then I posted them right behind my computer. And then I'd make a video and show everybody what my goals were for accountability. From that day forward, I've been able to crush so many things off of my list. And obviously, you don't hit all of your goals. I'm human just like everyone else. But that printing it and seeing it has given me the opportunity to achieve that success more frequent, more often, easier. It just feels like it comes quicker and with full head of steam. So that was number 3. Write your goals down, post them somewhere that is meaningful for you and that you're going to see them every day.
Yeah, no, I love it. And dude, be blunt, because if you were at ADPI Con in New Orleans, me and Tim Kelly were on stage, and Tim Kelly, his quote, paraphrasing here, goes something to the effect of, if you don't write down and track your goals and create an accountability system for your goals, then you don't deserve to achieve them.
And wow, I love Tim,
man. So that like, that makes people's like, oh God, maybe maybe I don't deserve to achieve them. But writing something down, it's so simple, and it's changed my life as well. TJ, dude, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Where can folks get in touch with you, man?
So really easy to find me everywhere on the internet. Type Fitness Realty and you'll find me, our podcast, our YouTube channel. We're all over everybody's favorite social media platforms across the internet. If they want to find me direct, TJ McLelland, my phone number is listed, and it's actually my cell phone number. So if anybody wants to text me, call me direct. It's out there for everyone. So that's the easiest way to find me.
Perfect. Awesome, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show. I think you made a big impact on all the listeners here. And listeners, remember, share this episode with someone in your shop, bring them around, change their mindset in their financial well-being, and you can create an impact, and you can continue the grassroots movement and the growth of not only active duty passive income, but your own personal wealth growth journey. And that is the point. So thank you so much, TJ, and I will see you at ADPI Con.
Thank you, brother. It's going to be amazing.